Well, wasn't that a brilliant and varied show? I think that was absolutely excellent. So many of us went into WrestleMania 37 with pretty low hopes. A lot of people really down on the card, but WWE proving once again, as they have done an awful lot in recent times, that they make it work where it counts. And that was great. That was absolutely great. But I'm not here to talk about the matches. No, no, no. I'm here to talk about the weather. I'm here to talk about the backstage chaos that was taking place at WrestleMania. Let's get on with it. So all week, reports have been circulating regarding the possibility of very poor weather conditions in Tampa over WrestleMania 37 weekend. And by Jove, those reports turned out to be pretty darn accurate, didn't they? You will have seen it play out on your screens, but I'm here to tell you everything that went down, absolute backstage pandemonium, as well as give an insight as to maybe what to expect from night 2 of WrestleMania. And spoiler alert, it might not be the best news. So, around 5:30 p.m. EST, Bleacher Report shared a fan video from the stadium, and there are a lot of these floating about on social media from fans in attendance. It showed dark grey clouds filling the sky, looking very ominous indeed. And then a little while later, the stadium's PA announcer announced to the crowd that they had to evacuate their seats, take shelter for the time being. About 45 minutes or so later, they were allowed to return to their seats, but then when the show got underway, we were very quickly informed, after America the Beautiful, and Vince McMahon on the stage, of course, we were very quickly informed that the show wouldn't be starting at the right time, and that they essentially, well, they filled time for about 45 minutes before we got the opening match with impromptu promos. You could tell that people were ad-libbing left, right, and center. We got Samoa Joe in a poncho, and that was wonderful to see. The personnel tarped off the ring while this happened, but it did result in some pretty dodgy conditions for the wrestlers to work in, with AJ Styles slipping up on his way to the ring, Mandy Rose as well, and I really, really feel for the wrestlers last night. Fortunately, the show pretty much went off without a hitch once it got going, at least for those watching at home, but not nice conditions at all. As I say, there was a bit of damage to the WrestleMania set as well, with the sails on the ship being torn by the wind. And so, yeah, it was... Vince's head must have nearly exploded last night. I can't wait to watch the WWE 24 documentary on last night's WrestleMania Night 1. But yeah, WrestleMania Night 2, bad news. The weather, according to all forecasts right now, is expected to be worse. And I don't know what they can possibly do about this. Obviously, there's no roof on the place. Fingers crossed they'll have some sort of plan put in place tonight, and we won't see what happened tonight take place night 2. But obviously the safety of the crowd is paramount, and well, we'll see. Give it time. It was a very interesting start to a WrestleMania, wasn't it? And you know, like, they've waited a year to get all the fans back in there, and then bloody the man upstairs ruins it all for the opening part. Anyway, right, we will see tomorrow night. Next up, on to slightly brighter news. Well, hopefully, anyway. 2K have announced a new WWE 2K video game, 2K22. Now, this was teased earlier in the week. They said that there was a big WrestleMania announcement regarding the game coming, and we saw it tonight. We saw a very brief trailer, not really giving much away at all. All that was really featured on there as far as gameplay goes was Rey Mysterio getting an entrance and hitting the 619 on Cesaro. Wasn't he great last night? I want to talk about that. Anyway, right, the game is coming. We don't have a release date. All it said is it's coming soon. So maybe we'll learn a little bit more night 2. I very much doubt it. But stay tuned there. Fingers crossed it isn't the disaster that, well, 2K20 was. There's a lot of work that needed doing on that game, but because it was such a PR disaster, you've got to assume that 2K will have invested a whole lot of resources into making this a really, really good game, and that's obviously what we all want. But, well, Time will tell. Next up, big changes coming to the Raw commentary desk, according to a report from Wrestling Inc. WWE haven't made a formal announcement on this yet, but according to this report from Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc., WWE are going to be introducing a new broadcaster to the team on this Monday's episode of Raw. According to the report, Tom Phillips, who obviously wasn't at WrestleMania last night, is being replaced as lead play-by-play announcer by Adnan Virk. It's a name that I'm unfamiliar with, but he's a very, very experienced man. He's been working in sports broadcasting for close to 2 decades and presently works for both MLB Network and DAZN. There's no word on what Tom Phillips is going to be doing in WWE next. He's been the lead play-by-play guy, and he's been the lead play-by-play guy pretty much everywhere in WWE. He's done SmackDown, he's done NXT, he's done NXT UK at various points in his career. Apparently, though, Adnan will be joining Samoa Joe and Byron Saxton on Raw. Fingers crossed Samoa Joe isn't there for long, because we'd all like to see him back in the ring. But it'll be interesting to hear how the show is changed by Adnan joining the team. Looking forward to Raw to seeing what he's like. Next up, a huge return taking place over WrestleMania 37 week. This is one that you may have missed. I'm going to give you a few clues, actually, as to who this man is. So, he's a former WWE superstar. He's been in there with some of the biggest names in the industry, getting the upper hand at a few points, in fact. He is a former champion in WWE, actually. He's got one of the smoothest, most beautiful drop kicks in the game. I am talking about Maven. Maven making a shock return at an FWF show. And you know what? He looks in fantastic shape, as you can see. He didn't have a match or anything like that. He came to the ring, delivered a drop kick to Big O, and that was pretty much it. The last time that we actually saw him wrestle proper was all the way back at a WrestleMania week show, a Wrestle Pro show in 2016. So it's been a while. Does this mean he's returning to wrestling full time? Probably not. It's an easy payday, isn't it? A nice little cameo for a former WWE superstar. So I hope he made a few quid doing that. And I will finish on this story. I'm not going to spend too long on it at all because I hate the bloke. He's awful. Teddy Hart has been ejected from an indie show. IWTV tweeting yesterday, Teddy Hart showed up uninvited to tonight's PFX battle. He has been ejected from the building and will not be allowed back on the premises. So that's wonderful stuff. Obviously, Teddy has had so many legal issues. I'm just surprised to see him there. I thought he'd be in prison, actually. Should be. Teddy put out a video following the incident saying, "I want to apologise for buying 5 tickets to your show. There were 50 people tops there. Please forgive me for supporting your show and bringing people to watch what I thought was a pathetic display of indie wrestling." And then accused Danny, who's the promoter, of using him as clickbait, and says thank you to the fans who do support him. All 2 of them, maybe, if he's lucky. So there you go, more nonsense there from Teddy Hart. Thank you once again to everybody who tuned in for the WrestleMania watch-along. I will be back, well, tonight now, in fact. I will be back at 12 p.m., 12 a.m., midnight. I'll be back at midnight. Oh, it's been a long night. You know what? It's 6 a.m. right now. So yeah, anyway, thank you very, very much. Much appreciated. We love you all. Stay tuned for all the great WrestleMania content that we got coming out. All the best. I'm going to bed. Bye.